More reaction to Tennessee's 3 annual opponents for the next 4 years, and did Tennessee get the best draw of any SEC team?
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I am your host, Cain. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. I'm a member of the VolQuest.com team covering your Tennessee Volunteers each and every single day. And, of course, this episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, where new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Again, I'm Cain. Can't thank you enough for being here. Got a loaded show coming up, parts 1 and 2 of an extended Ward Wednesday here this morning with Josh Ward coming up now and in a couple of minutes in segment 2. Segment number 3, I will answer your questions a day late for the mailbag edition of the show here this weekend. One quick programming note as well. If you're listening to this right now, go back. I should, if everything goes well, I should have a bonus show late on a Tuesday night reacting to the schedule release for Tennessee for the next 4 years in the SEC. So if you want that news, we'll talk a little bit about the annual opponents with Josh Ward coming up. But we're talking about the report from Chris Lowe about Vanderbilt, Alabama, Kentucky. But if you want the full thing on the schedule, reaction, all that and more, go back in your feed, go back on your YouTube playlist. I should have one up there Tuesday night. So you can check that out and, of course, listen to this as well. So without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Josh Ward. Chris Lowe reported yesterday or a couple of days ago that the annual 3 rivalries, at least for the next 4 years for each SEC team, is out, and Tennessee's going to get Vanderbilt and Alabama as expected. That third team is Kentucky, and you and I have talked about this for years and years and years. Kentucky was my pick just because, the two teams have played since 1892. Also, when you look at Kentucky has no rivals outside of Tennessee, so I think it just made way too much sense. It's fun seeing all of the reaction to fan bases and personalities across the SEC that are unfamiliar, I guess, or don't know how to do a Google search about Tennessee, and seeing how Tennessee got such an easy slate when Tennessee's played Florida, Georgia, Alabama for 25 years and longer. It's all fun and games and everything, but I think if you're a Tennessee fan, you're thrilled. This is what you wanted, at least for the next 4 years until they expand and they change it all up again. This is a pretty good slate, and it does protect those rivalries. You got Vanderbilt, played since 1893. You've got Kentucky, Battle of the Beer Barrel, that's no longer in play since 1892, and of course the third Saturday in October.
Yeah, there is not realistically a better draw than what Tennessee got because Bama was going to be there. We knew that Vandy was too, so it was really about which team is the third one, and it works out great for it to be Kentucky. There's a case to be made that Kentucky's program is in the worst spot of any in the SEC. That conversation can change. There might be a different opinion on that in 3 years, 5 years, whatever. But I don't need to explain or keep going on why getting Kentucky works out for Tennessee. You're right on the history. I think the biggest reason it makes the most sense is because Kentucky needs somebody. It really matters for Kentucky to get 3 teams and one that makes a lot of sense. And from a location standpoint and the history, it's not great timing for Kentucky with where that program is and what's going on with Tennessee football. They are heading in different directions and have been for the last several years. And I get why other people around the SEC are saying, wait a minute, they get Vandy and Kentucky. I also think a lot of this will balance out. I think for the most part, the SEC did a pretty good job with balancing things for each team with the 3 schools that they're going to get. And I say that it's going to balance out because the league is going from 8 games to 9, which will eliminate some of the variation that I think we're seeing right now that we've seen in the last 2 seasons with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league. So it's a good draw for Tennessee. Does not guarantee an easy schedule. Nobody's getting an easy schedule in a 9-game conference slate. But if you can pick the teams, Tennessee would have picked exactly who was on there.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree with all that. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm throwing up the annual opponents here from Chris Lowe's report earlier this week. And of course, here's Tennessee, Alabama, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. We just mentioned that. If I had to, I think the SEC did a really good job, to be completely honest. I think it's, in terms of balance, in terms of protecting some rivalries, I don't think they forced an awful lot. I thought they did a pretty good job. If I'm a fan of Arkansas with Missouri, Texas, and LSU as the 3, and if I'm a fan of Texas A&M with Texas, LSU, and Missouri as the 3, maybe I have a gripe. Texas, of course, is one of the better SEC teams. LSU's always got star power. Should be better than what it is every year, but it's always got star power. And Missouri's interesting, right? I mean, Missouri, everybody thinks Missouri is kind of bottom half of the league, but you look at the standings and you look at what they've done the last 2 years under Drinkwitz, they've won 10 games. And so Missouri's kind of getting slept on. I'm certainly not a Missouri fan, but I do think they deserve some credit in terms of what they've been able to accomplish the last couple of years with Eli Drinkwitz. If I'm a fan of those two programs, maybe I have a gripe, but overall I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, Missouri, by the way, 24-6 in its last 30 games. Only Georgia has a better mark in the SEC, I believe. And I recognize they probably benefited from some of the competition they've played. They've also played that competition with Missouri's roster, which is not as good as a lot of the teams in the SEC. So I'm with you on what you said there. If you didn't get Vandy, Kentucky, maybe Mississippi State, maybe Arkansas, then you probably got a gripe because those are the teams that year in, year out are most likely to be at the bottom. I recognize what Vandy's doing right now, and Clark Lee deserves a lot of credit for that. I also don't know how long he'll be Vanderbilt's coach. If he keeps winning, he'll get a bigger job, I would think. Maybe he decides, I want to make this a long-term deal with his connections there. But
he did say he was the savior of the program, Josh.
Yeah. The point still stands. You want Kentucky, you want Vanderbilt, and Tennessee got them. And Tennessee shouldn't apologize for it. As you mentioned, the teams that they've played plenty of tough schedules. Tennessee has benefited, I think, last year, and we'll see about this year, but Tennessee looks to have a more favorable schedule with where things are. It's still a little disappointing to see that Florida won't be there on an annual basis because I think that has been such a fun rivalry over the last 30 years. And actually, Florida's program is not one that you should be scared of. In fact, Tennessee has missed out on taking advantage of Florida being down over the last 15 years, for a lot of the last 15 years, I should say. But you're looking for ways to win games. And Tennessee fans, it's funny. I was joking on our radio show on Monday on Josh and Swain that for years we would talk about biggest rivals, and the argument often was Bama or Florida because there was kind of an age difference. If you had a cutoff, Florida was maybe more exciting to you, Bama was more exciting to you. Kentucky never came up. It was never brought up. But all of a sudden, the history and the rivalry with Kentucky has been brought up. I think Tennessee fans should want Kentucky because that's a very winnable game, and you shouldn't have to apologize for wanting teams that you expect to beat because you're also going to see Texas come on the schedule. You're going to see LSU come on to the schedule. As long as Lane Kiffin's at Ole Miss, or if he leaves and they get a good replacement, Ole Miss can win football games. So, again, I'll repeat, there will not be an easy schedule. It's just going to be different. You're not seeing Florida every year. You're not seeing Georgia every year as you've become accustomed to seeing over the last 30-plus.
Yeah, there's different layers to this whole thing. I mean, obviously, like they want to protect historical rivalries, proximity. Trying to make it as fair and as balanced as possible. I mean, Kentucky certainly is down the list when I think of rivals for Tennessee in football, right? Because it's been completely one-sided. But like I said earlier, I mean, Tennessee is all that Kentucky has, so that was a factor there. I do think longevity of the games played, again, 1892. I think that means something, and also like you weren't going to get three straight rivals. I mean. Go down the list right here. I mean, there's a lot of teams like that third team is not a quote-unquote rival. I mean, at some point, they just got to make something work. And so I just thought Kentucky made too much sense. I thought Florida would make sense as well. But, if you want to go back to that rivalry thing, and you said it's been such a fun game. It's been fun for Florida fans, Josh. I don't know what you've been talking about.
Well, I said it's look, that game brings juice. When we have –
it does.
On a game week, sure, the result has not been fun for Tennessee, but that's Tennessee's fault, and Tennessee's better now. That's why Tennessee shouldn't be afraid of anybody. That includes Bama now. That includes they're not going to play Georgia. That was never in consideration, but it's Tennessee's fault that they've lost so many games. They had so many games. I don't need to keep running through them that they could have won, should have won, but just from you want the big games. If you're a Tennessee fan, UAB week's brutal. ETSU week is brutal. You get up for the Alabama game. You get up for the Florida game. You get up for Georgia week. I haven't experienced too many Kentucky weeks where people are all in, revved up, ready to go for the game. They're excited that they're going to go beat up on Kentucky. They like that part. But in terms of the games that you spend 12 months out of the year talking about, that you talk about from January through August, we never talked about the Kentucky game. Every offseason, we talked about the need to beat Florida, how that would help jumpstart whichever way your season was going to go, or at least give us an idea of which way things were going to go. It's not comparable, the juice that the Florida game brought compared to the Kentucky game. But why people want Kentucky is not why they would want Florida. Those are two separate conversations. And I'll also repeat what you said. For Kentucky, it makes all the sense in the world for Tennessee to be on there. It's not just about Tennessee, it's about all 16 teams. And for Kentucky's 3, it made all the sense for the SEC to put Tennessee on there.
Yeah. And to your point about Florida, I mean, my demo, like my age group, my people my age, I mean, it's always been Florida. And so, like, I recognize that. And, Florida, it's Florida, it's Gator Hater Week, Florida Hate Week. Like, I mean, that's what gets the fan base riled up and, us at the radio station and everything. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick awards than anyone else as of this past August. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with the confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, where you can move and be moved. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, investments, and when you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. Amen? Amen. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorizations on your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege. I thought it was just so hilarious that last week, whenever, CeeLo and Brandon Marcello first came out, and whoever was first, about the, SEC didn't announce it on Tuesday, it's going to be for the next 4 years, then they're going to reevaluate. And I'm like, how silly is that? I mean, that's not a large sample size whatsoever. I mean, the only reason they're doing this 4-year cutoff is truly the conference plans to expand at some point, and they're going to see where they are in 4 years. I mean, that's the only reason why this whole little 4-year caveat's in there, because it's kind of silly to say annual opponents or permanent opponents when it's literally just for the next 4 years.
Right. Sitting here and trying to tell you exactly what college football is going to look like in 2030, which is what this would be pushing us toward, 26 through 29 with the upcoming schedule. So after that would be the start of the 2030s. Who knows? But you're right. The league could be bigger. The playoff picture will look different than it does now. I'm confident in that. Who knows exactly what it will look like in 5 years coming up on that point. But I'm glad the SEC was able to finally make a decision for 2026, because we spent half a decade talking about that. This conversation predates Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league. They bought themselves a couple of years. They tabled the discussion for the first 2 years with those schools in the conference. So I wasn't surprised to hear at all that, hey, we're going to take a 4-year term here. I'm just glad overall that teams are going to play each other more often throughout the league. That's why, again, I'll say Tennessee should be glad that it got Vanderbilt and Kentucky to go along with Alabama. But I also think people getting mad at Tennessee about that is an overreaction, because things will be a lot more balanced in terms of schedules that are, when we compare the schedules, I don't think it will be as obvious that Oklahoma and Florida are playing schedules that are so much tougher than everybody else. I do think they did a good job overall with the 3 teams that were added for each school, and what the overall balance of the schedules will look like year in, year out.
I got 2 more questions for you. One on this weekend, Mississippi State. And you mentioned earlier something about how Tennessee's benefited from its schedule last year, could benefit this year. It's funny, all offseason, one of the main talking points I had, even before we knew what Joey Aguilar was going to be, and obviously he's been just phenomenal to this point, it was Tennessee's got not an easy schedule, but a manageable schedule, right? That schedule looks a lot tougher now, to be honest with you, and one of those games is Mississippi State. We'll see how good Mississippi State is. I know they had the big win over Arizona State in week 2. Much improved, can't deny that, but they're about to see something they haven't seen at all. On the flip side, how does Tennessee handle a true road environment? Josh Heupel 8-10 in true road games as Tennessee's head coach. Cowbells, Blake Shapen, a 235-pound running back, Lots going to happen down there in Starkville. How do you? What are you thinking about the game heading in a couple of days out?
Yeah, before the season, Mississippi State, which was picked at the bottom of the SEC, still stood out as a team on the schedule that Tennessee better be ready for because it would be the first true road game. It'd be ahead of the bye week. It'd be an easy team to overlook. And Mississippi State, I thought, would have a good chance to compete with Arizona State. Then ended up pulling off the upset to remind us, hey, they might be better than we saw a year ago or even thought a month ago. I still think Tennessee going in should be the better team. And if Tennessee does everything that it's capable of in terms of what we've seen from the offense so far, if it takes care of the football, if it protects Joey Aguilar, if Tennessee runs like it's able to, then I still think it's a better offensive team than what Mississippi State has to offer, recognizing Tennessee's defensive issues that have shown up. So that's why I'm not calling this a lock by any means. And the point spread would indicate, hey, Mississippi State can battle in this one and have a shot against Tennessee. The coaches know each other. Mississippi State battled Tennessee in Knoxville last year with a worse team than it has this year. So all of that is to say that Tennessee, if it plays as well as we've seen in the first 4 weeks or close to that, I think will get a win. But if it turns the ball over, if they have penalties, if they get in their own way of being able to go tempo early in the game and you're in the second quarter and it's a 7-3 game and it's loud there and Mississippi State's starting to get some energy, then things can go the other way. If Tennessee plays like it's capable of, Tennessee will be 4-1 with a win at Mississippi State going into the bye week.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's freaking out about the defense. That's fair. Like, I thought the defense will be much better right now than what it is. I recognize the injuries. I get all that. And I also recognize that I think Brent Hubb said this earlier this week, and, I mean, he's exactly right. I think you sacrifice some stats in a game like UAB to play Sidney Walton 41 snaps, to play Caleb Beasley 45 snaps, to play these guys so many snaps. And that's important. That's more important than stats. But then again, it still just kind of looks a little bit weird when you give up 24 points to a team like UAB who, rushed for 23 yards, slung it all over the yard because that's all they could. Jalen Kitten is a fine quarterback, especially for that team. But I'll be intrigued to see kind of how this defense continues to evolve as it gets healthier. Jackson Moy's expected to be back. Hobbs maybe after the bye week. We'll see about Jermod McCoy at some point. Still a lot of talent, but certainly I thought the defense would still be a little bit better than where it is right now.
Yeah, got to
comment on that if you want to.
On the back end, and I was just going to say, got to clean up communication on the back end. Can't have sloppy effort in tackling happen on that touchdown drive in the second quarter against UAB. Part of that might have been, hey, we're up big. You lose a little bit of focus, but that would be an example of what you can't have happen on the road, because if you make those kinds of mistakes against an SEC team, whether it's Mississippi State or somebody that's better than the Bulldogs, they can take advantage.
Again, it's not going to be easy, but the defense, like having gone up against not an exact offense, but a very similar offense in camp every single day, it's going to help the defense, and it's going to be a little bit quieter to communicate on the road for the defense. Last thing, a little Locked On Vols Award Wednesday extra here today. Thank you, Josh, for being a trooper. Want to ask you about Bruce Pearl, man. Former Tennessee coach. A lot of the Vol fans have fond memories of Bruce Pearl. The other half hates him, because he went to Auburn, and there's been a lot of clash between Tennessee and Auburn the last couple of years. You're seeing this more in college basketball. Tony Bennett did this. Some others in recent memory have done this, where you're going right up, kind of holding the program hostage a little bit in terms of you're getting to promote the guy you want to. Bruce Pearl stepping aside, obviously can't dispute what a phenomenal coach he's been, okay? Stephen Pearl is going to be the guy. I mean, the jokes write themselves. What an absolute train wreck this can be, and I think all Tennessee fans are just sitting here with popcorn, right? I mean, good for Stephen Pearl. He's the son of Bruce Pearl. I don't think that he has the pedigree, the experience, nor anything else to be a head coach in the Southeastern Conference, but I think everybody, and obviously me, I am thrilled to see how this plays out over the next couple of years. Also, a 5-year contract. I mean, what are we doing here, right? The whole thing yesterday was just... It was a wild day with the storylines in the SEC with Kiffin's daughter, Dayton Whit Weeks, and everything else. It was wild.
What a conference, yeah. It means more, or it gives more content to everybody out there. That last part is what surprised me the most, the 5-year contract. Yeah. That's what I did not expect. I wondered, okay, will it be an interim tag, or what kind of commitment will it be? That's why when you bring up the holding the program hostage thing, I mean, that's part of my thought is, okay, this timing is for that reason. But if they are committing that kind of deal to him, then behind the scenes, there's obviously a conversation that's taken place to make that happen. This isn't coming out of nowhere.
You're right.
To Auburn. So I can't wait to see how it's going to go. It may work out great. There's nobody like Bruce in terms of what he's able to do to rally a fan base, to create connections behind the scenes, to get booster support, and to get a team to buy in and believe and go out and play to the best of their ability and sometimes beyond that. Bruce was spectacular in what he did arriving at Tennessee and creating something so quickly at Tennessee that fans could grasp onto. And then to go to Auburn, a basketball program that nobody would want to touch. Mm-hmm. And he turned it into what he's done is incredible. Can Stephen Pearl keep that going? I don't know. I'm skeptical, but it doesn't seem like Auburn's that skeptical. And he does have Bruce, who will be somebody that he can lean on, I'd say, in a number of ways. So, man, talk about big shoes to fill, his father's shoes there, but what an opportunity, too. Auburn's bought into Bruce Pearl and the message he's delivered, not only for what he would do, but what Stephen Pearl can do. And now we're going to get to see.
The video that the creative team did yesterday on the Auburn basketball account, not enough exclamation points and weird emoji faces to describe the cringe that was. But anyway, it should be interesting. Bruce Pearl, phenomenal coach. So congrats to him on his retirement. And very much he's going to be around to help Stephen. I mean, a special ambassador to the program, whatever. Like he's still going to be there for sure that he can lean on. Josh, thank you so much, man. Sorry I kept you so long. Great conversation as always. And we'll tune in this week. Josh and Swain, I know you guys got a lot coming up this week.
Yeah, getting ready for the big road game for Tennessee, and it will tell us more about Tennessee's football team the rest of the way. Got to get a win, but 12-3 Monday through Friday on Josh and Swain talking Tennessee football.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using the FanDuel Sportsbook app because it fits however I personally like to bet. Player props, building the same game parlay, even jumping in live action as the game is unfolding. My Braves have won 9 straight. Too bad there's still 9 games under 500, but it's been fun late in games to jump in 7th, 8th inning, and I can cash out whenever I want to as well. It's quick, it's easy, best way to add a little bit more energy to my Sundays when I'm trying to keep up my fantasy football team Monday nights, Thursday nights as well. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app today by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. FanDuel, it is where you can make every moment more. Hey guys, welcome back into your Wednesday Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here. Because of the news yesterday, we bumped the mailbag edition of the show to this morning. So without further ado, let's jump into some of your mailbag questions. We'll start over on the YouTube channel. This is from Mr. Jones 6696. Do you think Joey Aguilar, if he continues putting up solid numbers and efficiency the rest of the season, he will be a Heisman finalist, appearing for the award presentation at minimum? Excuse me. And on the other end, hoping he can become Tennessee's first ever Heisman winner. Would he be the most improbable Heisman winner in history, 30 for 30 worthy type stuff, if this culminates? Okay, so yeah, if he continues at the pace that he's at right now, 100%. He's very much in the conversation. He's very much at the award show. But again, that's the key, right? You said it. If he continues at this pace, I mean, it's going to get tougher. First true road game this weekend. I'm excited to see how he performs. But I've said this on the show several times since the Georgia game. What he did against Georgia, I'm sold. It's as simple as that. I'm sold. You do that against Georgia. Kirby Smart coach defensive backs. Georgia is who I believe Georgia is, but at minimum, Georgia's defense, that secondary, I'm sold. Okay, so if he keeps this up, he'll absolutely be there. As far as would he be the first Heisman Trophy winner with this wild, unique story and probability, there have been some former walk-ons who have won the Heisman Trophy for sure. So there have been other abnormal circumstances and great stories, but 30 for 30 type stuff, 100% for sure. Like if this would end up culminating, like you said. So yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes. Obviously, premature talk right now, but you said it. If he keeps this up on the same pace, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, look at his numbers right now. He's second in the league in passing yards. He's first in touchdowns, I believe. He's doing a really, really good job so far to begin the season, no doubt. All right, let's get into some of your questions. This is from Jared. Should they force feed P. Lewis again and hope the persistence clicks? I wouldn't force feed him in big time games right now because I think clearly Star Thomas is your best back, and I think clearly Deshaun Bishop is your second best back. So I wouldn't force feed Peyton Lewis anymore outside of a game like UAB or anything. I'm not saying he doesn't get a carry or a series, but as we saw against Georgia, it was the Sean Bishop and Star Thomas show pretty much throughout. So those are your two best options right now. Again, you guys know I like Peyton Lewis a lot, but right now rolling with those two in these big-time games. Is Amari Jefferson not playing because he's not good enough, or is it because he's still going through his learning curve? Maybe a little bit of both. I think there's talent there, but I think right now he's just buried in the depth chart. Also, I think he's missed a lot of time due to injuries throughout his college career. Does Ethan Davis simply need to cut down on penalties to get more playing time? Well, he was out for the game on Saturday, so he didn't play. Only 15 snaps against Georgia. I think that had more to do with them not going as much 12 personnel. But to your point, Miles Gibson played about 70 snaps. Penalties maybe. I know they are high on Ethan Davis, and he has done a lot to help Tennessee. I understand the penalties. I understand people are frustrated because he has so much ability and potential to be a pass catcher, and that's just not translated so far this year. But yeah, he does need to cut down on the penalties for sure, but Ethan Davis is going to keep on playing. Is it a possibility that David Sanders just redshirts at this point this year? Perry has been exceptional in his absence, so honestly wouldn't be mad about it. No, when he's cleared, he's playing. I'm not saying when he's cleared, he's starting day one, but he will play, and they will put him back in the rotation because, again, he is one of the best five. A guy like David Sanders is not going to be in college football for 5 years, okay? Certainly in this day and age, it would be hard-pressed to think anybody's going to stay at one school for 5 years. So, no, unless he just is not cleared at all and until, you've got less than 4 or less games left, then he is not going to redshirt. How they decide to implement him back in the scheme and the offensive line, that will be interesting for sure because I'm with you. This offensive line has been phenomenal. But make no mistake about it, he is one of the best five. So for Tennessee to be at his best, Tennessee needs him for sure. Kurt, since we're going to Starkville, where do you rank cowbells on the list of most annoying noisemakers in sports? Oh, man, I saw this question the other day, and I meant to go look at some the bubuzelas. Is that what they call them? I mean, those are awful to listen to. Cowbells come to mind. I mean, cowbells are up there for sure. They're very annoying. I'm intrigued. I mean, isn't there a rule to where they can't ring them whenever the opposing team's on offense or whatever? How is anybody going to enforce that with a drunk guy on the stand, right? I'm going to get my first taste of Starkville this weekend. I've never been, so I'm excited to go and experience that firsthand. But to your point, Kurt, it is up there for sure. Not as bad as the bubuzelas or whatever they're called in soccer. I can't stand those. Bob, does Heupel see some sort of benefit to being so vague and cryptic about injuries instead of just saying what's wrong with David Sanders, Rickey, Gibson, etc., and giving a rough estimation on how much time they'll miss? He just doesn't want to share it. He never has. Some coaches are more forthcoming. Some coaches think it's, I personally think in this era where we have tape and we have analytics and we have all this type of stuff, I mean, you're not keeping anything. You're not going to have a competitive advantage, in my opinion. So why not just share things? I know other coaches share a lot of things. Josh Heupel is just not one of them, and he never has been. He thinks it's a benefit. I personally don't think it's a benefit. But I can tell you Rickey Gibson's not going to play for Tennessee this year, in my opinion. I think it would be an extreme stretch. Even if there's a playoff run, I think it'd be an extreme stretch, in my opinion. David Sanders, I think, is going to play. Jermod McCoy, I think, is going to play. Jackson Boy, I think, is going to play this week. David Hobbs, I would think that he has a better shot after the bye week. Josh, Georgia game had shades of Bama game in 2022, in which we had stellar offense and shoddy defense all season, ultimately resulting in the South Carolina loss. Do you think the season will reflect 2022, or when the players come back, Hobbs, Moy, McCoy, defense will look more like last year? I think it's hard-pressed to think the defense is going to look like it did last year because the defense last year was elite. Now, compare this year's defense right now, and I'll talk with Josh about this here in a moment about how I think they sacrificed some stats in that UAB game just to force feed a lot of these young guys, and I think that was more important. But compare the defense and the personnel you have now to what you had in 2022. I would take what Tennessee has now every single day of the week and then some. Like the personnel, the depth, the quality of player on this year's defense is significantly better than that of 2021 and 2022. So I think this defense is significantly better than that year, and I think they're going to play better that way as well, for sure. Okay, let's go to I thought I had a couple of questions here. Daniel wants to know any update on the radio clips from scoring plays. No, not yet, and I hate it because I think it adds so much value, but there's some legalities in there, so we might not have scoring plays this year on Mondays, which really stinks, and I'm sorry. But that's kind of where we are right now in that regard. Let's go over to my Locked On Vols accounts. Don't have much time left. Okay. Bruce. Oh, send me a picture. Nice. Bruce went to the game with one of his friends this past weekend, and he met Sterling Hinton, which was awesome. Took a picture with some cheerleaders. Really, really happy that he got to go to the game. That's awesome. All right, on second and third string didn't look great. Our second and third string didn't look great. A few weeks ago, they looked okay, but not on Saturday. George looked good. I feel like he looked more like a number 2 instead of Jake. Jake looked like he couldn't make a decision. Is that a fair take? George didn't play in the game, which was kind of surprising. Jake Merklinger did, and I think they had plans to put George in there at the very end, but the last drive for UAB took forever, and then by that point, it was just kind of like, we'll just let Jake Merklinger go back out there and fix this game. But to your point, second, third stringers didn't look that great on Saturday. I'm with you, man. And I think a lot of that has to do with like so many reserves are in starting roles right now. So you're getting even more youth as you go down the depth chart. But Bruce, really happy you got to go to the game, man. Congrats on that. I think that's awesome, and hope you're back at Neyland Stadium at some point this season for sure. Guys, thank you so much for being here and being a part of the show. Josh Ward, extended Ward Wednesday Extra here this week. A lot of great conversations there. Again, if you want to know about the school, the complete reaction that I had to the schedule release, if all goes according to plan, I would have posted that late last night. So go back in your feeds, check it out, and we'll talk about it right there. Lots going on right now. Tennessee, Mississippi State, and it's coming up this Saturday. Man, we'll be with you every step of the way. We'll see about a crossover later this week. I need to reach out to the fine folks in Starkville to see if I can set that up. But we got Boogie on Friday. We got so much more to come this week right here on Locked On Vols. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody.